The McAdoo firing widely expected from everybody in light of what's gone on over the past few weeks. The Reese firing at this juncture, more of a surprise, as most people thought he still had a chance to remain, as slim as it was, and certainly thought he would remain throughout the rest of the season. I just mentioned his name as the man who has confirmed this news for us here. Let us bring in Ralph Vacchiano, our NFL insider. Ralph, we'll get to McAdoo in a second. How stunning is the Reese move at this point?
Well, it's stunning only in the sense that they have not changed a general manager by anything other than a retirement since 1979, and the Giants just didn't want to have to do that. They really believe in the organizational consistency, and when you fire a general manager, you're talking about the scouting staff, so many members of the personnel department. All of that could change. It's a gigantic upheaval just in the way they do business. So it's something that John Mara has resisted many, many times over the years. But I think as this went along, 2 years ago, he said to everybody when he let Tom Coughlin go that, this is on Jerry Reese now. He can't hide from his record. He got a little brief reprieve after an 11-5 season last year, but now you look at the overall record, you're talking 5 missed playoffs in 6 years, 2-10 this year, a real failure of personnel on the offensive line and things like that. So I think that he reached a point where he had no choice, that he had to make this move. As
for McAdoo, 13-15 throughout the course of his tenure. Of course, as we know, 11-5 last year, 2-10 this year, as everything is sort of falling apart in the Giants' world, especially when it comes to communication. It appears as though, Ralph, this Eli Manning situation and McAdoo's specific handling of it and communication of it last week is what really seems to be driving this today.
Yeah, what I've been told over the last few days was that really was the final straw. And the losing obviously was a big part of it. But what John Mara likes less than anything else is the fact that this organization, the image has taken a hit. They had been portrayed, quite frankly, like clowns over the last week. And it's been embarrassing almost in the way they've handled a franchise icon. They've been ripped by former players who never ripped the Giants. They love being part of the Giants and part of the family, talk about it all the time. All of a sudden, they came out talking about how awful this was, how embarrassing it was. And John Mara, last Thursday, basically laid it at the feet of Ben McAdoo and said, the plan that they discussed was not the plan that was relayed to Eli Manning. John Mara wanted to look at younger quarterbacks when the opportunity presented itself. Ben McAdoo somehow turned that into a half and half sort of plan to Eli Manning. And even worse than that, when Ben McAdoo brought this to the press and told everybody about what was going on, he came off as callous, unfeeling, robotic, and it just looked awful. And I think John Mara knew that to let him continue to be the face of the franchise was not going to be something that was going to be well received by the fans.
So is it just that simple? Because mid-November, John Mara comes out and says, John Mara and Steve Tisch issue a statement saying, as we always would like to do, would like to take stock of the season and handle a review after the season, indicating that everyone was safe until the season ended. So just the simple handling of the Eli Manning situation and the furor that erupted after Manning got emotional on camera from former players and fans, that was enough to totally change the way this organization does business.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit more drip, drip, drip beyond that. I think that they felt like since they made that statement, which I believe was after the San Francisco game, where they said that they would evaluate things after the season, things didn't get better. There still seemed to be discipline issues with the team. Ben McAdoo just not coming across well in press conferences, confrontational a little bit. He looked honestly overmatched when he would try to be the spokesman for the team. I think that was starting to weigh on John Mara, but absolutely once it happened with Eli Manning and it really became a circus. I mean, people were circling from everywhere, the former players. I think that was the moment where he said, you know what, we can't let this go on. How ugly would have Sunday been when the Giants returned home to play the Dallas Cowboys if Ben McAdoo was still there? I think that weighed heavily on John Mara, too.
When it comes to removing Reese at this point, now, obviously, there's been many draft picks that have not worked out in recent years. The coming back with the same offensive line blew up in Reese's face and has brought fierce criticism, justifiably so, to what he has done this year. But I'm wondering, with the timing being as it is, Ralph, and Reese, never known as a communicator in that he always spoke twice a year no matter what, and John Mara's had to speak more than that this year, was the fact that Reese was not more communicative in the process of the Manning situation. Does that weigh into him being fired here at this point?
Well, it might. I think that they have a little bit more understanding of what Jerry Reese was about as a communicator. He was not going to speak to the press. He preferred to stay as hidden as he possibly could. He let other people take the heat in the organization. I think that the Giants understood that. Probably the fact that he was on the side of Ben McAdoo in this, and it was the McAdoo-Reese plan to go half and half in the games, and they were the ones that hatched the plan that was relayed to Eli Manning. That certainly may have weighed on their decision. But I really do think with Jerry Reese, when John Mara sat down and said, we have to make a decision here, he probably made the decision based on we need to stop the chaos, we need to stop the questions. And if you had just fired Ben McAdoo and left Jerry Reese in place, I don't know that the questions or the chaos would have stopped, because we just would have sort of refocused the attention. It would have been, okay, Ben McAdoo is gone, but what about Jerry Reese? Why are you letting him make decisions on the future of this franchise if there's a chance he's not going to be here?